Welcome everybody to Global Purpose Speaks. I'm your host, DJ Taz Rashid, and I'm a musician who travels to mindful festivals and events all throughout the world. And one of my passions is to have conversations with transformational leaders, learn about their unique missions and how they're changing the world. This talk series is created in partnership with Global Purpose Movement, a collective of change makers convening and co-creating in our Earth's current shift towards a world that's really working for everyone. And today we're here in Stanford, California with Mikey Siegel, who is the founder of Consciousness Hacking, specializing in the study of technology relating to consciousness and specifically creating tools that facilitate people's own path toward higher consciousness, self-realization, awakening, and transcendence. And he's also a lecturer here at Stanford. That's where we're meeting. And so it's excited to be here with you, Mikey. Thanks for taking the time. I know you're busy, and thanks for doing this.
It's my pleasure and great to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are short interviews, so let's jump straight into it. And please tell us a little bit about Consciousness Hacking. What is the organization, and what is the mission, really? What's behind, and I guess how did you get to it? How did you guys end up to it?
Yeah. So big picture, Consciousness Hacking is a global community exploring the ways in which science and technology can support human flourishing, right? And the general idea here is that we have lots of human systems, political systems, educational systems, economic systems, which are functional in a lot of ways, but are maybe not operating at the evolved level at which they could be. And so my particular interest, because of my background in engineering, is on the technology side. So I'm motivated and excited and inspired by this recognition that these gadgets that are around us, which again serve such a deep and important purpose in our lives, are still very, very limited in the ways in which they're supporting the deepest expression of human beings. Yeah. In the ways in which they're supporting human beings realizing their greatest potential, right? And so Consciousness Hacking is a community of people that's exploring that potential for technology to actually be a catalyst for human flourishing. So,
you started this organization. How long ago did you start this?
It's made a 3-year anniversary.
3 years. So it's relatively new.
Yeah.
It's young. Were there a series of events that happened in your life that you were led to you probably were interested in it and you were deeply in it? What made you start the organization or come to that realization that we need to start something, a community? How did that happen?
Yeah, so there's really two parts of my life that are coming together.
Yeah.
One is this whole engineering side.
Yeah.
So my background is first computer engineering, and then did my graduate work in robotics, and I really had a lot of passion and excitement about building things, and I really enjoyed it. And at the same time, there was something of a conflict in that even though I really like building stuff, I really like the engineering side of things, there still was the sense that something was missing. I wasn't feeling deeply fulfilled. And after graduate school, I ended up coming across meditation. And
what year was this?
This was probably 2009.
Okay. That's when you first came across?
I had known about it and been interested in it intellectually.
Yeah.
But after I finished graduate school, I went to this yoga ashram called Yogaville in Virginia.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah, it's huge, right?
Great spot. It's a big spot. It's just quite delightful.
Yogaville.
It's really, really sweet place. Kind of a carryover from the 60s and 70s sort of guru culture at the time, but really a very sweet place. And so I spent 2 months there.
Wow.
As kind of an experiential deep dive.
Deep immersion.
Into meditation and yoga. And of course there's a big difference between reading about it and doing it.
Yeah.
Right? And by no means did I become a yogi in a couple months, but what I realized is that I was missing a whole part of the equation, right? To put it in engineering terms. I had been focused on this external world, this sort of rational, mental world of solving problems and creating things, and I had been missing my whole inner world, right? And so that quickly became very quickly apparent that was not just like this great luxury, but that was critical. That was important for me to actually have a sense of who and what I am.
It's like a whole new equation, part of the bigger.
Totally. And so then I had these two parts of my life,
Yeah.
the engineering part, and then this whole path of knowing myself. And then I realized that there doesn't need to be a conflict between them. Even though when we look out in the world, there is a lot of conflict between them, right? We have, like, no one thinks that this is a spiritual tool. If anything, people think of this as a source of distraction. And so what I saw was that actually technology really just represented a kind of human potential. It could be anything that we wanted it to be, right? And it could just as much be an expression of rational problem solving as pain and anger, things like atomic bombs, right? As it could be an expression of wisdom and insight and unconditional love. And so that became my mission, right? It's like, okay, if I'm going to build technology, the only technology worth building is technology that supports awakening, right?
So I guess, what were some of the tools that you were using yourself, like that you saw that was out there, to help you in your awakening process? Maybe like towards the beginning, is there anything that you found that you were like, oh my gosh, I'm using this daily in my life? And then, are there any examples that you were of different technologies that you found early on that you used?
So part of the problem is that it's fairly limited what's out there.
Yeah.
Now, there has been an exploration in this domain since the late 60s, right? So this isn't a totally new idea, right? But it's been happening in very siloed, kind of esoteric, one-off kind of instances. And now, recently, we have emerging some nice examples. For example, you can look at technologies like HeartMath, which is a device that measures your heart rate variability and helps guide you in your breathing. There's a device called Muse, which actually monitors your brain waves, and is a consumer device. I could never get my parents to meditate, and then I bought them a Muse headset, and all of a sudden they're like open to meditating, and they don't even call it meditation, because now they have a kind of a scaffolding, they have a bridge that they can cross. It's like a technology bridge to make it accessible.
Yeah.
And there's a device called the Spire, which is a wearable that monitors your breathing and helps you stay balanced. Actually created here at Stanford.
Wow.
So there's
Spire,
Spire. So
this is consumer. Like
these are all you can buy it at the Apple Store.
Oh, what?
Yeah. So we're already seeing the emergence of technologies into the marketplace, built with the intention to support presence, to support mindfulness, to support self-awareness.
Yeah.
So this is already beginning. It's already started, and my sense of it is it's the first ripples before a tidal wave, and that this is going to be huge for a number of reasons. One, there's a huge market potential, right? A huge demand for this. I mean, what do people want more than to feel better?
Yeah.
Right? So it's arguably the most desired thing on the planet, to actually feel deeply connected to ourselves, connected to each other, connected to this planet, connected to this present moment experience, right? That's what we're all seeking.
Yeah.
And so if we can create new, accessible, skillful means to do that, then change the world.
Well, you said tidal wave. From that just makes me think, like, from your insider knowledge, like what can you tell us will be different in the next 5 years relating to human consciousness and technology? Like, how will things be different in 5 years? That from from your experience, your research, what do you see?
Yeah, great question. So, first, I want to make the point that I don't see this as a panacea that somehow, like, poof, the world will be rainbows and unicorns. I think that the whole rainbow of human expression is and always will be there. So technology used for distraction, used for hedonism, used for is sort of supporting addiction, used to hurt and harm, will continue to be there, right? You can't change that. And I also think that, which is your question, that we are going to see an incredible growth in technologies that are designed from a place of wisdom and insight and designed for wisdom and insight. And the ways that that's going to emerge is, for example, virtual reality. So virtual reality is perhaps the most powerful tool to influence human consciousness that's ever existed.
Wow.
And the reason I say that is because this capacity to influence human experience is related to our ability to hold and engage attention, right? There's a reason why every single meditation practice ever invented is in some way or another a technique for controlling and shaping attention, right? Because we are what we attend to. And there's been something like an attentional arms race happening, arguably for the history of humanity, but let's look at modern history, from radio to television to games and computers and apps. These are all increasingly powerful means of holding human attention. And when you open up your phone and you look at all these little icons on the screen, every single one of those is trying to do one thing, and one thing well. Hold your attention for as long as possible in such a way that they will ultimately make money based off that attention, right? So there you have an arms race to hold attention for profit, but there's other reasons why you might want to hold attention. Virtual reality would be the most powerful way of holding human attention we've ever created. And that can be used for profit, purely, without regard for human well-being, or that could be used with the deep intention to support human flourishing. And if you combine the profound ability to hold human attention with the intention to support healing, compassion, connection, unconditional love, to support these things in the world, then you have the atomic bomb of awakening.
Yeah.
Right? And not only that, technology has a unique quality that other forms of human expression don't. Right? So if you think about what's the most universal human expression, right? Across religion, across culture, across geography, it's not food, right? We don't all like each other's food. It's not language, certainly. We don't speak each other's language. It's not religion. We fight wars over religion, right? It's not clothing. But everyone is happy to have a cell phone. Over 90% of the planet already has an active cell phone account. Over 90%.
Wow. That's a lot.
There's 2 cell phones for every person on the planet. So if over 90, I remember when I was in India, and you have these sadhus, they literally are naked, covered in ash, and I hear a phone ringing, I'm thinking it's my phone, I'm all embarrassed, we're like sitting around the fire, and then he pulls the phone, I don't even know if it was a loincloth or something, answering the phone.
Where was that?
I don't even know where it was. And it's universal.
Yeah.
It's actually universal. And so if we can package skillful pointers, and skillful is a very important word here because this can be used and abused in all kinds of ways, but if we can package skillful pointers to awakening in something as accessible as cell phones, then we have the recipe for widespread, rapid shifts in human consciousness on a global scale.
Okay, let's dream here for a second, because
Okay.
we're talking vision. What would you consider like the ideal, like say app or whatever technology on a future phone? Like if you could have, from all your research again, like if you could have that one like particular program or app
Yeah.
to elevate human consciousness or awakening, however that looks like,
Yeah.
what would like that dream app, like what would that look like? You put it on, or like what can you describe like what that would be?
Yeah, so it's a good question. And like any good person being interviewed, I'm going to give an explanation before.
Sure.
So this is a hard problem to solve. And one of the reasons why it's hard, because at its heart is a paradox. And the paradox actually isn't unique to technology. The paradox is true even in just teaching meditation. And that is that there's a conflict between, on one hand, creating a technique or an intervention to try to get someone somewhere. Even if you're teaching them a meditation technique, you're teaching them the technique because at some level there's a sense that they're not there yet.
Yeah, they don't know the technique. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They need to get somewhere. Yet, the goal of any good meditation technique and the goal of any good transformative technology is to bring people to a place where they recognize that where they are is inherently perfect. A place of acceptance,
Yeah.
a place of self-love, right? A place of being with what is. And so there's a paradox, there's an inherent contradiction, right? And so that needs to be not overcome, but recognized through wisdom and insight and played with and danced with. And so what I see in terms of the ultimate ideal scenario is an emerging culture of awakened, enlightened entrepreneurship and startups that are deeply grounded in the paradoxes, in the inherent conflicts, in the very fundamental issues of trying to market something that is trying to bring people to a place of not needing anything. You know, and being able to deeply embody that and know it, and then be able to build technologies and tools that can skillfully point people there. And so what that will look like will come in every shape and size imaginable. There'll be wearables, there'll be virtual reality, there'll be augmented reality, there will be apps on your phone, right? There will be things embedded into the environment that are invisible. There will probably be implants, right? There will be things that are going to be really questionable, that we're going to argue about. Is this from wisdom? Is this not from wisdom? You know, there's, for example, something that's being worked on right now is a brain implant for people suffering from PTSD.
Wow.
And the implant literally goes in your brain and it stimulates the parts of the brain associated with negative emotion. And when negative emotion comes up, it essentially eliminates it.
Like, is it an
actual electrical stimulation?
I've heard of this.
And this is different than a lot of the stuff we hear about, because this is actually a brain implant that just lives inside your brain
there
surgically.
So when it sees it, it's
Just
neutralizes.
zaps the negative emotion. And so, of course, from a meditator perspective, we were like, no, you know, like,
you must
you have to
experience it.
feel it all, right? And then there's something like the suicide rate for veterans. I can't remember the statistic, but every time I hear it, it's uncanny. I mean, it's more than a dozen
It's like
a day.
20. Yeah, I've heard it's like 20 a day. Yeah, exactly.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And there is a population that is suffering profoundly. And if a brain implant can provide some level of relief and help people to actually enjoy their lives
and
in
not
a
kill
way,
themselves.
and not kill themselves, and actually find a place to actually be present and be connected with what's
Get back
happening.
into life and enjoy it.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to these questions, right? These are the things that are going to be
Got it.
the debates of our
Well, and
coming generation.
so what's hot right now with your organization? What are you
Yeah.
guys working on? Just a few things that's coming up, maybe just say for 2017
Yeah.
that you're really excited about.
Yeah. So there's a startup out of my house, and they're building a virtual reality experience where your breath is being measured, and then that breath is literally woven into the whole 3D experience and the 3D environment that you're embedded in.
Wow.
And so it's something like a breath meditation, except your whole sensory experience is engulfed in your breathing, right? It's what you're hearing, it's what you're seeing. It's a particle cloud of beautiful, glowing, like glimmering shimmer all around you, you know? Your breath is the breeze blowing the trees and moving the clouds. So there's, Juno VR is the name of that project. So there's incredible creative possibility there.
Wow.
There's folks that are working on, a friend of mine has a project that's actually a little patch that sticks on your torso, and it measures your heart rate variability, which is one way you can figure out how physiologically sort of stressed people are. And instead of connecting to your phone or sending you a text or something, it actually just vibrates.
So you feel it.
So
right
you
away.
feel it. It's a felt experience, and it's real time, right? It's something that's with you all the time. It's not something you sort of stop
You
your
have to
day.
monitor. Okay.
Exactly. You don't have to stop and look at it.
Yeah.
So that, those are a couple examples of some
Very cool.
really interesting possibilities.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, what's the best way that people can get involved with, your community or learn more about it? Is there a website? Is there I'm sure there's a website, but what are the best ways for people to get involved?
So cohack.life.
Okay.
We have communities around the world. There's over 20 communities. And if you
So they can start their own community?
You can start your own community.
Oh, okay.
Or you can join an existing one. And so for sure, if this is this is an area of passion for you.
Yeah, that's amazing. We'll put that information.
Yeah,
Sure.
please. You
Yeah.
can start your own community and start these conversations, because these are really important
It's
conversations
everywhere.
to be having.
Not just in Stanford.
Yeah, totally.
That's amazing. And any last things as far as things you're giving talks on right now, or just something that people, anyone at home can take into consideration as far as these technologies, or what they should be aware of, like last words would you say for around that?
Yeah. What I would say is don't be limited in your thinking, in your dreaming, by the incredibly limited form that technology currently takes. And just in the way in which entrepreneurs can wake up to deeper wisdom and create new tools from deeper wisdom, we can all do that in everything that we do in every moment of our lives. And it's not just the techie people that have that responsibility, it's all of us, all the time.
That's amazing. Mikey, thank you so much
Yes.
for meeting with us today. And for more, we'll put all the web links for consciousness hacking and for Mikey's websites, because you have a couple other websites as well. We'll be sure to get that out there. And again, thank you all very much for joining us in Global Purpose Speaks. I am your host, DJ Taz Rashid, and this talk series is in partnership with Global Purpose Movement, a collective of change makers convening and co-creating in the globe's current shift towards a world that's working for everyone. And you can join the conversation at globalpurposemovement.com. We'll see you next time. Thank you all.